Well, hello YouTube, and welcome to another video on my channel. I recently got my hands on these Kuretake granulating watercolors, and when I did, I just ripped them open and started painting right away. I have since painted with them more and learned a lot about these watercolors, and I want to share them with you today and paint these watercolor doodles. I've gone ahead and, like I said, painted a lot. I've painted these birch trees, and I painted a landscape, and I also painted these watercolor doodles, and that's what we're going to paint together today. If you want to see those other two or one of these other two, let me know. I'm happy to share with you how I painted these. I learn a lot, like I said, every time I paint, and I'm happy to paint these if you're interested. But today I'm going to paint these watercolor doodles with you and share with you everything that I have discovered and learned about my Kuretake paints with you along the way. So settle in, stay tuned, because I'm going to get started straight away. All right, so like I said, I picked up these watercolors about a month ago, and when I did, I didn't even realize why they gave an extra pan. But that extra pan is to use for mixing space, because when you mix up granulating watercolors, they work well, and they work better on hot press paper, I've come to find out. So today that's what we're going to paint on. We're painting on this hot press paper from Bao Hong Academy, and I also have a nice big mixing palette for myself here. Now today I'm only going to be using one color in this painting, one granulating color anyway, and I'm going to use the orange that comes in this set. And you know, the nice thing about granulating watercolors is that they separate, and they will separate on your palette with lots of water, and that's why Kuretake includes an extra palette or pan in this set. And you can see how the orange has separated into two different colors on my palette. And when that happens, you can dip your brush into just one color, or kind of mix up a combination of the two. And that's what I'm doing here with my leaf. I am taking my time and practicing my brush control, and also just, you know, really getting to know my paints and what they will do, and having a lot of fun with this color, and realizing that when I paint one side of the leaf and leave a negative space, a negative white space down the center, I think it really shows off these watercolors. You know, it's a nice technique whenever you're painting to leave a little bit of white space in between, like when you're painting a flower or painting leaves, rather than painting a line down the middle. Leave a little bit of white negative space. It's just a nice technique. And I really like the way that it's working out with these watercolors, so much so that I'm going to mimic that same thing and just kind of try and leave kind of a negative white space in all, if not most, of the leaves that I paint. Now here you can see I painted the stem in a more like peachy orange color, and then I'm dipping into the teal side that's in my palette or on my palette to paint some of the leaves. And so once your colors, you know, once you pick up some paint and add some water and give the paint some water to move around in, they will start to separate. The colors will start to separate on your palette, and you can really have a lot more control over where the granulation falls, or where the colors fall on your palette. You can be a little bit more intentional about where those colors get placed. And you know, doing a painting of just some repetitive watercolor doodles like this, especially in a brush stroke that you're fairly familiar with, or a subject that you're familiar with painting, allows you to really focus on the paint itself rather than the actual mechanics of the painting or the details of the painting. And that's what I really wanted to do with these three paintings that I shared with you, and this one in particular. I really wanted to take my time here and see how these paints were going to behave and react and move, to see if they were predictable or unexpected, and what parts of them were that way. You know, reducing the number of variables so that you can focus in on the one aspect of your painting that you want to is fun practice for me. So for instance, I here wanted to focus on these paints and how they behaved on hot press paper. I also wanted to see if I could control the color placement a little bit. So those were the two aspects of the paint or painting that I was focusing on in this painting. Whereas with my with the landscape painting, I was more curious to see how the paints would layer together with each other, and the depth and the value range that I could get out of this set. Several of these colors are similar. It comes with 5 colors, 5 out of 6 colors. And I think one of the chief complaints that I've heard about this set is that, several of the colors are pretty similar to each other. So I wanted to see in the landscape painting what, the value range that I could get and color range that I could get. And then with the birch trees, I just used one single color. And again, I was looking to see kind of what my paints would do and what value range I could get with just one color. And with that one, I think I painted that one with the violet one or the blue one, I'm not sure. But anyway, back to this painting. This color orange, it seems to separate between like an orange and a teal, or like a coral and a teal. And with this leaf shape here, what I did is I lined the outside of my leaves with the paint. Like I drew the outside with my brush, and then I rinsed all the paint off of my brush and filled in the center with some clear water. And so that I wanted to have like a lighter inside and see if the paint would flow towards the inside and just get a gradient effect from the outside in. And so, I was testing out different techniques with that. And then I also, at this point, when I was painting this doodle, I had not painted the landscape yet. So I did want to see how these paints layered. But overall, I think, at least for the orange and in this painting, for this technique, I like how the single layer paint worked much better than I did the layered paint overall. Like, see, I think you can really tell now that the camera angle is further away. I think it provided a really soft technique and some variation in the painting where I wasn't doing any layering. Now, this leaf, what I did for this stretch of leaves, maybe I take back the layering criticism a little bit. I did like the way this leaf turned out. I decided to paint like, a string, if you will, a vine, I guess is the better word, a vine of leaves that were kind of half leaves. And this is where I decided to start, okay, I'm gonna see what layering this paint looks like. And so I painted a series of kind of half leaves on this vine, and I thought I'd go back and do a layering technique over them and see if I couldn't add some depth and dimension and give the appearance of maybe leaves curling. I do have like the shape of the leaves are flowing a little bit, but as far as like dimension, I don't really have too much dimension in my painting yet. And so I thought I might try out layering the watercolors here to see if I could get some depth, shape and depth on these leaves once they dry. Right, so now here I am going in and I'm layering over these leaves to try, like I said, and give myself some of that dimension that I was looking for. Incidentally, I am painting with a number 2 Princeton Heritage brush. I don't know why I chose this brush. It is one of my least favorite brushes. I'm not a fan of the Princeton Heritage brush, but it was just what I had on hand, so it's what I'm painting with. Let me know down below what you think. If you like the single layer painting, or if you like how these leaves look layered. I'm really curious to know what you like aesthetically speaking, and also if you have these paints, what have your thoughts been on them? What is your thought as far as the color range? What do you think? I've seen some other YouTubers make some really beautiful work with these paints. So yeah, I totally has inspired me. Well, please let me know. And while you're down there, please give me a thumbs up and subscribe if you haven't already. So I decided to go ahead and paint a flower here by just starting with a heart shape as my flower, and I'm going to let that dry, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back in and layer over that, so that heart right there, those hearts are just beginnings of flowers. Now I'm going to go back into my heart flowers and add a couple more petals, and see, here's where I feel like things started to muddy up for me. So I'm not really happy with the end result on the flowers. I think it darkened up the whole picture in a way that I'm not really fond of. I see how it made the flowers a little bit gray rather than adding like another pink petal. So I don't know how I feel about that, but I feel like it kind of really dulls down the picture and takes away. So I don't know. If I could do it over, I would not add those petals. But so anyway, it is what it is. I learned a lot. So I'm just filling in some gaps in the painting here that I felt needed it to kind of balance off the overall picture. So I'm going back in to add a fifth leaf now to my flowers to try and balance that out a little bit, and it didn't. It just made it more gray. I felt like the painting still needed something. So I thought I'd add a background of just some gold. So I brought out my other Kuretake paints, my gold ones, and I mixed up some gold paint for myself, and I'm using the end of my paintbrush almost like a stylus and dipping it once into my paint and then making several dots, and that's giving me the variation in dots. And now for the tape peel. Now, once the tape was off, I felt like it still needed or could use a little more. So I went back in with my Derwent line maker in the color Graphite. I love this pen. It's like my favorite pen. And I decided to add some line work to these leaves and to the flowers, and I really love the way this came out. I really like this pen. It's become like my favorite pen because it's a graphite color, so it's not black. It's just a light gray color, and the lines I don't feel are too harsh. It's just I've really been appreciating it. I like sketching with it. It's not gray. I mean, it's truly like a graphite color. It's ink, but it's ink in the color of graphite. And it's become my favorite pen. I love it. So yeah, I am much happier with this piece once I finished with the line work, and overall I'm really happy with the piece. The painting still needed something, so I thought I'd add a background of just some gold. So I brought out my other Kuretake paints, my gold ones, and I wet myself, and so I made